The moment Malik stepped into the convenience store, he felt it. A strange, heavy shift in air. The tiny bell above the door chimed softly. Ding ding, but the sound barely registered over the sudden silence that followed. He was just 17. A regular kid with a backpack slung over one shoulder and a craving for a cold Gatorade. School had drained him, and he wanted nothing more than to grab a drink and a snack and head home. The store wasn't anything special, old flickering lights, dusty shelves, but it was close to his bus stop and looked open. Behind the counter stood a woman with stiff blonde hair pulled tight into a bun, eyes sharp and unwelcoming. Her name tag said Lisa, but everything about her screamed Karen. The second she saw Malik, her expression hardened. No smile, no greeting, just a stare that said you don't belong here. Malik tried to ignore it. He dealt with that look before. Too many times. He walked straight to the cooler, grabbed a blue Gatorade, then picked out a bag of chips from the snack aisle. Just a normal afternoon, or so he thought. When he approached the counter, Lisa didn't move. "We don't serve troublemakers here," she said coldly. Malik froze, confused. "Excuse me?" Lisa crossed her arms. "You heard me. Put that back and leave." His brows furrowed. Was this a joke? She looked dead serious. "I'm just buying a drink and some chips," he replied, trying to stay calm. Lisa leaned forward slightly, lowering her voice. "We don't serve your kind here." Malik's heart pounded in his chest. He looked around, an older man near the magazines, a teenage girl scrolling on her phone by the gum display, but no one said a word. No one even looked up. "I've got money," Malik said, pulling out his wallet. "I'm not stealing anything." Lisa slammed her hand on the counter. "I said get out." Behind him, the door opened again. Another chime. Ding, ding. A tall man in a charcoal gray suit stepped inside. He looked sharp, like someone who belonged in a courtroom, not a corner store. His gaze scanned the room quickly, then landed on Malik. A calm smile crossed his face. "Malik," he said, striding forward. "You ready?" Lisa's eyes narrowed. "You two together?" The man nodded. "Yes, I'm his uncle." She scoffed. "Well, maybe you can teach him some manners." He was about to steal. The man didn't react. Instead, he calmly reached into the inside pocket of his blazer and pulled out a badge. A federal badge. "Actually," he said, voice cool and clear, "I'm here to observe how this store treats its customers. This location has been under review for certain complaints." Lisa's face went pale. "You're joking," she muttered. "Am I?" he asked, tilting his head slightly. Malik stood silent, barely believing what he was seeing, but he wasn't surprised. He'd seen things like this happen before. He just never thought it would happen to him. And then, without a word, he pulled out his phone and stopped the recording. He'd caught everything. Every word. Every look. But what Malik didn't know, what none of them knew, was that what just happened in that little dusty corner store was about to explode across the internet. This wasn't just the start of some viral moment. This was the beginning of something much, much bigger. By the time Malik got home that evening, his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. At first, it was just a few notifications, texts from friends, a couple of Instagram DMs. Then it turned into dozens. Then hundreds. Someone had posted the video. Not just a snippet. The whole thing. Malik hadn't even uploaded it himself. Turns out a girl in the store, the one scrolling by the gum display, had seen everything. She'd started filming the moment Lisa raised her voice. Her video caught it from another angle. It showed Malik staying calm, Lisa yelling, and the moment that federal badge hit the counter, pure gold. It went viral in hours. By midnight, the hashtag Gatorade Karen was trending on Twitter. The internet did what it always does. People were outraged, disgusted, and ready for justice. Others were in disbelief. Some called it staged, but most were furious, and not just at Lisa. They were angry that this kind of thing was still happening. News outlets picked it up. Blogs, reaction channels. TikTok had remix videos with sound bites of Lisa yelling, "We don't serve your kind," while people stitched themselves reacting with pure shock. Even celebrities were retweeting it. Malik's face, nervous, calm, then confused, was everywhere. His voice, steady as he tried to reason with her, became a symbol of restraint, dignity. And his silence after revealing the recording? That moment hit people hard. But for Lisa, it hit even harder. By the next morning, the store's Google reviews had tanked. Thousands of one-star ratings. The business's Facebook page was flooded with angry comments. People were demanding answers, screenshots were flying, and someone even found her personal profile. It took less than 12 hours for the internet to dig up everything. Her full name, where she'd worked before, even old complaints from past customers. And then someone found something else. A lawsuit, quietly settled years ago. An employee had accused her of racial harassment. It was buried, never hit the media. But now, it was front and center. The internet wasn't just mad. It was investigating. Malik sat on the edge of his bed, stunned. He never wanted to be famous, especially not like this. His uncle, the man in the suit, sat beside him, scrolling through Twitter with a half-smile. "I told you," he said quietly. "These people bury their truth until the world forces it out." Malik didn't respond. His mind was still spinning. He hadn't even told his mom yet. But just as he reached for his phone to call her, it lit up again. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Malik Harris?" A voice said, firm and direct. "Yes. This is Detective Rawls with the Atlanta PD. We need to talk." Malik froze. "About what?" The voice was calm. Too calm. "There's more to that woman than you know." The phone call lingered in Malik's mind long after it ended. Detective Rawls hadn't given much away, just that there was more to Lisa than he could possibly know. But there was something in the detective's voice that made Malik's gut twist. This wasn't just about a viral video anymore. The next morning, Malik sat down to breakfast with his mom, trying to act normal. She didn't know about the phone call yet. She didn't know about the video. But Malik couldn't hide everything. "Malik," she said, setting down a plate of pancakes. "What's going on? I've seen your face on every news channel. Are you okay?" Malik forced a smile, trying to brush it off. "Yeah, Mom, I'm fine. It's just one of those things, you know?" But his mom wasn't buying it. She raised an eyebrow, narrowing her eyes. "You know that woman in the store?" Malik hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah. She's the one who tried to kick me out for no reason." His mom shook her head. "I don't know what's going on, but you need to be careful. You're dealing with something bigger than you think. The way the internet's reacting. It's not just a coincidence." Malik opened his mouth to say something, but before he could, his phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. He glanced at his mom, then answered, his voice trembling slightly. "Hello." "Malik," said Detective Rawls. "We need you to come down to the station. It's about Lisa." Malik's heart skipped a beat. "What about her?" "We have some information you need to hear," the detective replied, his tone turning serious. "It's important. Can you get here?" Malik looked at his mom, who was now frowning. She knew he had to go. She didn't want him getting any deeper into this mess, but the way things were going, it felt like Malik had no choice. An hour later, Malik found himself sitting in the police station, staring at the sterile white walls. The detective ushered him into a small room, sitting across from him with a thick file. Malik's mind raced. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice tense. Rawls didn't answer right away. Instead, he opened the file and slid a few pages toward Malik. The first page was a picture of Lisa, but it wasn't the Lisa Malik had seen behind the counter. This was a younger version, probably in her 20s, and there was something wild in her eyes. "That's her," Malik said, pointing to the picture. Rawls nodded. "But it's more than just a picture. Take a look at the name listed here." He pushed a piece of paper closer. Malik glanced down. The name sent a shiver down his spine. Lisa Montgomery. Who is she? Malik asked, confused. The name sounded familiar, but didn't make sense. Rawls leaned in slightly. Lisa Montgomery used to be a part of a very different life. Years ago, she was connected to a group known for spreading hate. The kind of hate that left people's lives shattered. Malik felt a lump in his throat. "What do you mean?" Rawls sighed, opening a few more pages. She was involved in a series of harassment incidents before she moved here. But this one, it's the one that brought her to Atlanta? Malik's mind raced. He didn't want to hear more. He couldn't. But the detective pushed forward. We believe Lisa Montgomery was involved in a series of assaults on Black-owned businesses a few years ago. It was a quiet operation, but it was personal. And your video? It triggered something. Malik leaned back in his chair, trying to process everything. Wait, so she's done this before? Rawls nodded grimly. Yes. She used to operate under the radar. This incident, though, it's reigniting everything. And now we've got some leads. The reason I'm telling you this is because we think you're in danger, Malik. Malik's stomach dropped. Danger? From her. Not just her, Rawls said. There are people in her corner. People who don't want this getting out. The detective slid a folder over to Malik. Inside, there were photos of Lisa, but these weren't just regular photos. These were old pictures. Pictures of Lisa with a group of people who had very familiar faces. Malik's heart stopped. Is that? That's right, Rawls said softly. She was connected to some dangerous people in the past. And now, we think they're coming after you. The days following Malik's meeting with Detective Rawls felt like a blur. He couldn't shake the image of Lisa's old photos, her connection to the dark past, and the threat that was now hanging over him. The detective had warned him, but Malik never thought it would get this serious. At first, Malik tried to return to some sense of normalcy. School, homework, hanging out with his friends. But it was like trying to ignore an elephant in the room. Every time his phone buzzed, every time someone mentioned the viral video, his heart skipped a beat. He couldn't escape it. By Friday, things had escalated even further. The first warning came when Malik got home from school. His mom was already sitting at the kitchen table, a serious expression on her face. Malik's stomach dropped when he saw the envelope in front of her. Malik, she began, her voice tight with concern. I don't know how to say this, but we need to talk. Malik sat down, already dreading what was coming. His mom slid the envelope across the table. On the front, it was sealed with a dark red wax. There was no return address, just Malik's name written in bold, tight handwriting. Who's it from? He asked, though he already knew the answer. I don't know, she replied, her voice trembling as she slid the letter open. Malik stared at the envelope as his mom pulled out the letter inside. She unfolded it carefully, then read aloud, her voice shaking with each word. Malik Harris, you made a grave mistake. You and your uncle both. You think your little video is going to save you, but it's just the beginning. We don't take kindly to people like you trying to expose what's ours. The next time you show your face in public, make sure it's not your last. Sincerely, asterisk asterisk. The Black Hand. The words hit Malik like a punch to the gut. He could feel his mom's eyes on him, but he didn't know what to say. Who are these people? His mom whispered, trying to hold it together. What does this mean? Malik's mind raced. The Black Hand. He'd heard the name before. In hushed conversations. People who operated from the shadows. They weren't just some random group. They had connections. Power. Malik felt like he was drowning in a world he didn't belong to. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed again. It was a text from his uncle. Get to the safe house. Now. Malik didn't waste a second. He grabbed his coat and turned to his mom. I'll explain everything later. I have to go. His mom stood up, tears brimming in her eyes. Malik, no. You can't. But he was already out the door. The drive to his uncle's safe house was silent, tension thick in the air. Malik could barely keep his hands still on the steering wheel, his mind replaying the letter over and over. His uncle had never mentioned the Black Hand, but Malik knew this wasn't just some empty threat. These people weren't kidding around. When he arrived at the nondescript house, his uncle was waiting outside, his face grim. Get inside. Quickly. The moment Malik stepped into the house, his uncle locked the door behind him and led him to a back room. Inside was a table covered with photos, maps, and documents. Malik felt his heart race. What's going on? What's all this? His uncle turned to him, his expression hard. The Black Hand is a group that has been operating in the shadows for years. They don't just target businesses. They control parts of this city. And they've been watching us. Malik felt the weight of his words. Us? His uncle nodded. Yes, they don't like people who threaten their power. And that video you posted? That was the spark. They've got eyes everywhere, and they're making sure we can't stop them. Malik stared at the photos on the table, images of Lisa, but also images of people he didn't recognize. Dangerous-looking men and women, all connected to the Black Hand. His uncle pointed to one photo in particular. Lisa Montgomery isn't just some small-town cashier. She's one of their key members. And we're just beginning to scratch the surface. They'll come for us, for you, unless we act fast. Just then, the phone on his uncle's desk rang. His uncle's face darkened as he answered it. Yes, he said, his voice low. Malik couldn't hear what the person on the other end said, but the look on his uncle's face said it all. We need to move now, his uncle said, hanging up the phone. What's going on? Malik asked. They've found us, his uncle replied. We don't have much time. Malik's heart pounded in his chest as his uncle quickly grabbed his jacket and ushered him out of the safe house. We have to move fast, his uncle muttered under his breath. He was no longer the calm, composed man Malik had known all his life. There was a raw urgency in his voice now, and Malik could see the fear flickering behind his eyes. They weren't just dealing with a racist cashier anymore. This had escalated to something far more dangerous. They rushed through the back alley, staying out of sight as Malik's mind raced. The Black Hand wasn't some small-time gang. They were serious. The kind of people who operated in silence, moving through shadows, pulling strings in every corner of the city. And now they were coming for him. You need to get out of here, his uncle said, his voice tight. We'll find a safe spot, but you have to stay hidden. Why don't we just call the police? Malik asked, his voice betraying his panic. His uncle shook his head. The police are compromised. These people have influence everywhere. If they want you gone, they'll make sure you disappear. Fast. Malik felt a cold chill run down his spine. He'd always thought the world was big and that people like him didn't matter to the bigger forces. But now, staring at the dark alleyway, the looming threat felt all too real. Uncle, what do we do? Malik asked, his voice cracking. His uncle glanced at him, his expression hardening. We fight back. We expose them for what they really are. But as they turned the corner, the unmistakable sound of car engines roared down the street. Malik froze. His heart seemed to stop as he realized the car wasn't slowing down. It was heading straight for them. Get inside, his uncle shouted, pushing him toward a nearby warehouse. They rushed through the open door just in time, but it was too late. The car screeched to a halt outside. 3 men in dark suits stepped out, their faces hidden behind sunglasses, despite the evening hour. They didn't say a word. But Malik knew. They weren't here for small talk. Malik's uncle stepped in front of him, pulling out a small gun from under his jacket. Stay behind me, Malik. And don't move.